Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all healthy and well and keeping to yourselves during this time of quarantine. It's been an interesting ordeal so far, so I'm trying to think of things to talk about that I haven't really talked about before. And one of them is about the ATV, the King Quad 750. So it's currently sitting outside. I'm going to grab a sweatshirt. Right now I'm in the garage, obviously, and we'll talk about a voltmeter. Now, if anybody knows the story on the King Quad 750s, 2015, 2016, mine's a 2016, and they had a problem with the stator. I can never say that right. Stator or stator, or basically it's the charging system on the ATV. So think of it like an alternator, like a generator, but it's a little different. It's hard to explain, but it's kind of like within the crankcase, I think. So anyway, there was an issue with it, and Suzuki put out a recall on it, and they were supposed to replace something. And basically what was happening was the ATV was overcharging the battery and it was killing it. So when you were out riding, your battery would just take a poop and it would shut off on you. Or if you shut it off, you wouldn't be able to restart it because the battery was cooked. Essentially, that's what it did. It cooked the battery. Mine, when I bought it, supposedly had the recall done. I never got the paperwork on it. The dealership said that they did the recall work before I bought the ATV, before I took delivery. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put a voltmeter on there and just see what it charges at, and see if it is by chance cooking the battery. So it's going to be a little different because it's been sitting, so it's going to charge, so it's going to show a higher voltage when I do start it. But the wiring is really what I want to talk about, because ATVs don't typically have voltmeters, and I wanted to get as accurate of a reading as I could at the battery voltage, but I didn't want to have my voltmeter on all the time. So I'll show you what I did, and let me just grab a sweatshirt and we'll go out and check it out. All right, we're out in the driveway, and I got it out of the garage and took the seat cover, took the seat off. Just give you a quick walk around of it again. It's a 2016 King Quad 750, single cylinder, non-power steering, and only modifications are the winch and the plow package. Okay, here is my little LCD voltage gauge voltmeter. What I did is I used a hole saw, cut it out, and then got underneath the plastics. And if you look here in the front, this piece sort of it's flexible. So I folded that down enough to thread the nut on. And I'll show you my wiring connections first before we take a look at it. So the positive wire is ran here up underneath of this headlight bucket. Now there's no light there, but I still call it a headlight bucket because that's what it is. If you take this green cover off, in the earlier models and the newer models, they actually have a light here. Behind this is a wiring harness, and there are ignition wires under here, obviously. And there's also an auxiliary wire which is pre-terminated for your winch switch. So what I did is I got into a wire that is hot only with ignition. So the key has to be on for the voltmeter to display. My ground, I actually did run my ground all the way back here to this. Now, if you'll notice, I do not have my battery hold down in place. Some of it's because there's such a mess of wires here with the winch wiring and my battery tender wiring. It's a mess under here, and I'll admit that. I'm not a professional at this. Anyway, so my ground wire comes into here. and come around here. Hopefully the light doesn't mess with it too bad. Ignition on, and it's reading 11.9. Hopefully you guys can see that. There you go, 11.9. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and start it, and we'll take a look at what it says. So like I said, with it, it needs to build a charge, so it is going to run at a higher voltage initially until it builds a charge back in the battery. So it's running 14.4 currently. So for anybody out there with an ATV, let me shut this off. Oh, and you can see it went blank. For anybody out there with an ATV, if you want to make sure that you got good power, you want to make sure that your voltage is good. Literally, Amazon is where I got these LCD voltmeters. I also have the same one on my lawn tractor. Cheap. I think they're $2 a piece maybe. I was a little worried about the quality, but the reviews are actually pretty good. And go over here to my lawn tractor quick. This voltmeter is powered all the time. It is wired directly to the battery. That's going on 2 years, and that voltmeter still works just fine. So again, very simple to install. You just need a power source, and you need to determine yourself whether you want it to be powered all the time or not. On this, because of the potential, I didn't want it powered all the time because I didn't want it, not that it draws a lot of power, but it will pull battery. It will pull power from the battery. And let's face it, I don't get out to ride very much, so I put it on the ignition controlled. However you want to say that, it's wired into the ignition. So very simple modification, and something that you can check when you're out trail riding or something. Every now and then just take a glance at that, make sure you got good voltage coming out of your machine, charging to your battery. Now here's a caveat to that: that's not the true battery voltage. In theory, that's the voltage that's going to the battery, because it's all part of the same wiring harness on the machine. To get a true accurate reading, and this is something I do very, very seldom, I take my digital voltmeter and put it on the terminals of the battery, start the machine, and I can tell you that the voltage reading on the meter is identical to what I'm getting on this little voltmeter on the dash here, the LCD one. So I'm confident that it's reading the same. And basically it's just a safeguard. So if you're seeing that you're only getting like 10 volts, you're gonna have a problem really quick. It's gonna run, but for how long? And likewise, if you're seeing 16 volts or 17 volts, whoa, there's an issue here. You got a rectifier issue, a regulator issue, whatever, charging system issue in your machine, and 17, 18 volts is gonna just cook it. So anyway, that's my spiel, and just a quick look there at the four-wheeler and my little added accessory to that. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're all healthy and safe, and we'll see you at the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.